If all it takes is a simple bite to turn a normal, everyday man into a horrifying creature of the night, then what does that say about the man? You know, I'm really disappointed in you. I truly am. You see, I know you think, oh, I find a nest of vampires, better go kill that. Well, yes, you probably should, but you shouldn't this time. Because all you did was make an elder vampire extremely cautious, because now they know some lunatic is running around burning them in the most obvious way possible. So congratulations, you just made taking down a 2,000-year-old vampire that much harder. Wait, you thought vampires were solitary predators? What? You are a fool sometimes, you know that? Okay, let me explain. Now, I stated before that zombies or the undead are probably some of the most common supernatural in this world, and that might be true. However, a strong contender for that title is in many ways the vampires. They are extremely common. They easily outnumber werewolves or mages or anything else the dark recesses of your mind can conjure up. However, with that commonness comes a certain level of predictability. However, do not mistake predictability for ease of dispatch. First of all, not everything you believe of vampires is true, or at least a lot of it is inconsistent. Now, a few things that do seem to hold true is A, they need blood to survive, and B, they can't step out in the sunlight without getting horribly burnt, or straight up dying. These seem to be relatively consistent goings-on, if one will. However, there is a state of vampire, or type of vampire called a Golconda, that supposedly does not. I have not confirmed this myself, but just take that with a grain of salt. Vampires, however, do rely on blood to survive. However, unlike, say, a zombie or some other basic monsters that just consume the living, they are much smarter. They retain any human intelligence they had in life, human intelligence, cunning, or wisdom, but also, since unlike a zombie, they're capable of learning new skills, which effectively means a vampire gets more terrifying the longer they stay alive. Which gets even worse when, and this is not known by everyone who wants vampires do have powers. This should come as no surprise. Pretty much every vampire legend in the world speaks of their supernatural capabilities. However, it's much more complex than just, ooh, they're strong, or ooh, they're super fast. No, they are interesting predators. They have mastered what they like to call disciplines, although sometimes I prefer to call them arts. But, I'm just weird like that. However, the disciplines, as they're commonly known among the vampires, or kindred, as I hear they like to be called, although you and Bew prefer to call them leeches. I'm partial to whatever. But I will continue to call them vampires for ease of discussion. Now, as it goes, disciplines are the supernatural powers of a vampire, which can do more or less all the classic vampire shenanigans you expect. Turn into bats, super strength, super speed, glamour people, or, just the fine art of whooping one's flesh until you resemble more a ghoul than a living person. Or into a dining chair. That's also something that continues to haunt my nightmares. However, so once again, don't expect vampires to be all what you expect. And remember, not all vampires have every discipline. In fact, pretty much all of them don't have all of them. That's just a general rule. Don't take that as an absolute. That's how you get killed. However, where do vampires come from exactly? This is something that I have found both easy and hard to figure out, and you and Bew are seemingly even worse off. On the one hand, it seems kind of obvious. You tie up a kindred and threaten them with exposing the sun, they'll very quickly say it's Cain in most cases. But exactly who is Cain? Is he the one from the Bible? Well, I think it's quite possible, but, I know many of more materialistic or atheist and you tend to prefer otherwise, and that's not even getting into how you view Cain as a person, and how that would mess with just about everything. But others still say Lilith, others say Dracula, which is kind of funny because by all accounts Dracula is a fictional character, but you never know. But all this is to say is that vampires are a confusing mess, made none easier by the fact that there are different types. Oh yes, did I forget to mention that? Yes, as they call themselves clans, or some say bloodlines, although I've heard that bloodlines is more of a term for individual groups within a clan, which sounds kind of confusing to me. A clan of vampires simply has different advantages and, most importantly, weaknesses that you can exploit to try to, understand your opponent, or more accurately, destroy. Now, of course, I won't tell you all of them because, there's some charm and surprise, but just a few of them I want to look out for. If they're ugly in the sewer, they're a Nosferatu. If they ride around bikes, they're probably a Bruja. Oh, and if they start communing with animals and sinking the wolves on you, they're probably a gangrel. That should help you stay alive for a few minutes at least. However, the worst part of fighting vampire is not their immortality, not their power, or anything else they possess. No. The worst part of a vampire is that they're smart. I've tried to reinforce this to you on multiple occasions, but I cannot underestimate that. They are intelligent hunters. They don't just randomly run frantically into sunlight. They aren't stupid, and most vampires won't even fight you directly. No. That's too good for them. They'll send ghouls, or they'll send humans who know better, or they'll plant evidence, or they'll do anything to basically send anyone else after you but themselves. And that is not easy, because there's 1,000 ways one could get the jump on an individual, no matter how powerful. However, how do you get the jump on an entire organization? How do you figure out who in that organization is pulling the strings? You might say, well, go to the top. But what if the top is controlled by someone? How do you figure that out? Yeah, you might be able to say, oh, this corporation is hunting me down. I clearly must go to the CEO. But it might not be the CEO. He might be blood bonded. You don't know. And all of this is just to reinforce that vampires are smart, and even if you find just one vampire, they are certainly not alone. There are ghouls, minions they can throw at you, abominations of nature, and of course, if you start killing a bunch of vampires, the other vampires in the area are going to notice. Oh yes, you thought vampires were just a few of them? No. Like I've reinforced before, they are common, and they are everywhere, especially in the cities. And that's probably the most horrifying part about them, is that despite all of what I've just said, you might think very realistically that a bunch of blood-sucking monsters should not be at the top of society. They should be in the backwoods, far away from civilization, to hide in the dark corners where they belong. However, that is far from the case. And that alone might be one of the greatest proofs of how far this world has fallen. If the unnatural, the darkness that is a vampire, is allowed to be at the top of human society, what is, in many cases, controlling a herd who are, at best, unknown of the horrors they face, or at worst, actively ignoring it. That might be alone the most horrifying part of a vampire. And that might be alone why vampires might be the hardest threat that the imbued will have to destroy if they wish to remake the world into a better place. However, that is where I will end this discussion for tonight. So, as you go off bravely into the night to hunt down whatever next monster crawls out of the abyss, may I make a note for you. Be careful what shoes you step on. They might just be attached to something you don't want to mess with. Yeah? Hey, why don't you hit that sub button? You're gonna become a subscriber. Get to see my content quicker. Wouldn't that be nice? I bet so.